My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about comic books. And we're talking about X-Force / X-Statix. And we are in the thick of it. X-Force 118, the third issue after Marvel just completely rebooted X-Force out of nowhere. There's no Cable here. There's no Domino around. Like these are all new people and they suck and it's good.
They're dysfunctional. And the cover has like a bunch of people branded as X-Men wrestling with like what looks like Fidel Castro.
100% Fidel Castro.
Like pulling a little kid apart like King Solomoning him.
Very funny to me. Extremely funny.
Yeah, really great cover. I've looked up a bunch of original art from this run because it's one of my favorite runs, art division. It's all very expensive, but there's some pretty good stuff
I imagine so.
out there because it's not so popular that you can't get any of it.
Yeah.
So if, someday I'll feel like spending, $300 or $400 and get a page from this that features some characters I like. Most of the covers I think are already sold, including this one, which would be pretty good.
All that stuff goes so fucking fast, even on like underground stuff. Like it goes super fast. So
yeah.
We left off in 117 with the sound of a gunshot in Mr. Sensitive's house, and we know that Mr. Sensitive plays Russian roulette every night to go to sleep. With his head, not with his dick, as we established in the last episode. But as we open up here after the cover, it's revealed that Edie is inside for some reason, and she basically she's accusing Guy of trying to shoot her, and he's just making up excuses of why he has a gun, and she keeps calling him lame because he's a superhero with a gun, which I find very hilarious.
Yeah, it's real good. He's a really bad liar. Here we didn't mention that the orphan's name is Guy Smith. I don't think last time. But he's like, he's like, I was polishing it. It's a ritual. I always polish a loaded gun at night.
Yeah, it's just what I do.
What I do. And she's like, that's bullshit. And he goes, the truth is I've got a stalker, somebody that threatened to kill me if I joined his favorite team. And she's just like, you don't need a gun, like you're fucking a superhero, this is dumb as hell. He changes the subject. Basically she teleported in to try to get him to quote unquote change his mind about being the leader. And she even offers to like disappear him, she's like, you can leave this all behind. I can teleport you anywhere. You can start a new life. I can give you money. You can not be an X-Force.
And another detail that has been there since the beginning, since we saw his guys kind of comment on her being tired after she teleports, is like she's walking around with fucking Samsonite under her eyes, right? Like she looks exhausted all of the time, and even like no matter where she is, she's looking pretty exhausted. And she finally gets kind of so fed up with this conversation that she teleports them like in the middle of the air, which is her classic move to like kill somebody, right? Like this is I guess if you're a teleporter, this is the thing that they teach you to do.
Exactly. That's what you learn in Nightcrawler school. The name of this, and then we get that name this is called, and then there were 6, and they're having this discussion as they're falling, Orphan's like, hey, I'm not a superhero that has the power to fly. I'm not one of those heroes. And she basically lays it out. Like, we're X-Force. We're way beyond heroes and villains. Like, we're out there on our own. We're making up as we go along. Good, bad. Those things don't exist. Like, we exist only to exist. It's incredibly scary. Basically trying to scare him into quitting the team. Like, you have to say goodbye to everything. Are you ready to say goodbye to everything? All those other people in the team, they're naive. They joined here without saying goodbye. They're doing their goodbyes now. Do you know how final that's going to be? And she starts passing out. What she does after she teleports too much. And as they're falling, she falls asleep. We cut over to the rest of the team saying their goodbyes.
Yeah. So we see Vivisect basically saying bye to his mom. The dad didn't even bother to show up. He was finishing a paper. You can tell he has some daddy issues. We see Fat with the PH saying goodbye to his parents, who aren't nearly the rednecks that they were portrayed to be. And he kind of apologizes for that. He's like, yeah, the press thought that they would, marketing thought that I needed a dysfunctional background. Like, sorry about all of that. St. Anna is just praying in New York while that Rainbow Bloke is saying goodbye to his boyfriend in San Francisco.
Yep. And basically just, his boyfriend says, I hope you're doing this for the right reasons. And he says, like, fame, money, a place in history, an opportunity to put a 400-pound pink guy on the cultural map.
Yeah. Like just a little bit of representation, right? Very cool.
Yeah. At the very last moment, Eddie comes to and teleports them to her bed.
Yes.
And she's kind of passing out, like half asleep. And she talks about it. She says, I said goodbye to so much. You wouldn't even believe what I left behind. A little foreshadowing here as she passes out.
Yeah. And he says kind of out loud, like, if it hadn't been for you, I would have shot myself. Like I was playing Russian roulette, but I'm not going to tell anybody that. I'm just going to keep that one to myself. And she's knocked out. Like she falls asleep on his lap.
Yeah. It's a really scary idea. The idea of like playing Russian roulette and the bullet coming up and then somebody popping in and you shooting at them instead and it actually shooting. Like that would have been it, we cut over to the next day where the team is all doing their briefing in the theater, and the coach is introducing their contact in Bastrona.
Yes.
Basically saying they're doing all kinds of horrible things to Paco Perez. He's your number one target. Our contact, his safety is not a priority. He's a scumbag.
Yeah. And of course, like the audience has questions of like, well, if he's a scumbag, like, why are we even doing any business with him? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, like, of course, like this is going to be super dangerous. You're the X-Force. Like, why are you even bothering asking that thing? Meanwhile, Edie is kind of looking at Guy, aka Mr. Sensitive, aka the orphan, like kind of with a little bit of adoration in her eyes. Like after that, like experience together, it's kind of like she's crushing on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they get a little bit of a flirty relationship. Mm-hmm. And they cut over to Bastrona where they're having some kind of carnivale here. Edie teleported them all around. She's like, somebody's moving around. I told you not to do that. And it's Fat. He's expanding in that. And everyone is real sick after this. Like everybody is really nauseous. Like teleporting that many people is hard on them and on her. As she reveals she's on her period, it's that time of the month, it takes extra effort. I could just take another ampule, but I don't want to get cranky.
And this is when St. Anna is like, hey, like if I put my hands on you, I could heal you. And she's like, yeah, sure. Like St. Anna is going to be like the healer of the group for a little while. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is like looking at the carnival happening, and Fat's like, them chickens can really shake it, because he's really putting on this front of like the street guy. And of course, Bloke is like, yeah, not to mention the roosters too, which is going to be kind of a little bit more foreshadowing as well. So
yeah, and he gives them a nasty look.
Yeah,
yeah,
because he doesn't like gay people.
Mm-hmm. So the orphan, flashes, jumps in to kind of check things out off on his own. He tells Dupe, like, get some shots of the parade. He'll give us something to cut to. Every recruit has taken courses on media and the X generation. So they're all film students.
How great is this, Gary?
Basically.
We're kind of doing
I would love to take that.
A standard read, but like how just like all of this, like the small things that are coming together, the weird interpersonal dynamics of the cast, like all of this stuff is just really working for me, man. Like I am 100% bought into it right now.
I love that idea. I love the idea of you take a media class on, because this is something like, I talk about how much I love that new X-Men run. It opened the door for like tons of shit culturally, that should have always happened in the Marvel universe. Like mutants are a legitimate minority, like in that universe, up until House of M, like they were like representational, and the idea that they would not have culture, or they would not have anything like that would just be ludicrous.
Or like fashion and music and just anything.
Yeah, fashion,
like just
art.
Culture. Yeah, like anything.
And that's one of the things I love. I've been reading the Dawn of X stuff, kind of off and on. I read Hoxpox. I've been reading that stuff. And as much as I kind of want that to get to its hook soon. And I don't like all of the books. I do think that basically, Krakoa is for all mutants. This is, we're not bound by your laws we're not bound by your culture as a thing feels like it builds off of the Grant Morrison run in a way that I really appreciate. And it's a weird thing that the Marvel just forgets for half a decade at a time on the regular, like this idea of like, of course there would be college courses about, mutant film and stuff like there are prestige movies about any kind of underclass of people, like there would be like, I'm trying to think of a non-offensive example because I'm not trying to compare magical superheroes' plights to real oppressed people, but there would be like Girl Interrupted, for mutants, or there would be like or 12 Years a Slave or something.
The Medium articles about like how flyers always have to carry around non-flyers, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
there absolutely there would be all this stuff, and it's silly to like limit yourself to just doing these 4-color like superhero stories, that don't do that. And I think that's one of the things I really love about this run is that it has the aesthetics of like a 60s bang pow gee whiz, kind of Venture Brothers-esque, like, pop experience, but it's actually about this deconstruction, that asks these questions of how this would follow in a closer to a real world situation.
So good.
It's real good. Mr. Sensitive pops in, and it's really good that he went off on his own because he's walking into an ambush.
Yes.
Their contacts set him up.
Set them up. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mr. Sensitive can feel it. Like the air changes. There's a different kind of sweat. People stop dancing. And this parade, like one of these floats with a gigantic evil cat on the front, is actually full of, people with masks and guns.
The worst
aiming them at the house. Yeah, absolutely worst Mardi Gras and worst Antifa here. Incredibly fa.
Incredibly fa, as they say.
Yep.
Luckily, Mr. Sensitive has moves, so he can get out of the way of all of these bullets, and he is able to get out of it. But since Edie disobeyed his orders, the rest of the team shows right back up behind him. So Anarchus is there to basically dissolve all of the gun guys, all of the gunners, and soon enough the rest of the team shows up, and they just wipe the floor with these like normal human fascists, right? Like it doesn't take much effort.
Yeah. Yep. Orphan is upset about this. I told you, to wait for me, don't make executive decisions. And he's got this internal monologue going on, like saying like, she probably saved my life. Like I am, I'm putting up this facade because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do, as the leader. This is the kind of thing I need to do. And she does the, I don't know what it's called, where you put the palm on your reverse elbow and do that like New York fuck off.
Yeah.
Motion the cabbies do. And they're looking for their informant. Like, where's Diego?
Yeah.
They run out into the parade to grab him.
And like during this, more helicopters show up, and Anarchus is just about to like kill them, and like, Mr. Sensitive has to stop him and be like, hey, like you can't just drop a bunch of on fire helicopters on top of like some normal innocent people. And meanwhile, they finally find Diego. Bloke does, and as the helicopters start opening fire, and it just shred Bloke. Like his back is totally fucked up.
And it basically, Orphan killed him, like by stopping Tyke from hitting the helicopters. Like he saved a bunch of innocent people, but he sacrificed somebody on his team, who's dying, like singing, and I can't fix him up. Billy Bob says like, hey brother, we're going to get you fixed up. And he's like, you can't do that anyway. It's just one less of my kind to worry about. Right. Which is a fucking cold ass last words to say to somebody. Like if that doesn't convert people from being a bigot, we just need every bigot in America, to be told that by somebody. And like, it's just absolutely, horrible.
We're watching, some in the quest for content in 2020, we're watching some barbecue cook-off reality show on Netflix, American Barbecue, whatever. And one of the guys on there, like in the first episode, he's like, and he's like this kind of heavy-set dude from the South, and he's like, I'm just doing this for my man, for my buddy. He passed away, and I just feel like I got to get this meat done right for him, just for him. And I'm like, And then in the second episode, he's like, I've never made seafood before. And I was like, and I looked over at him, I'm like, well, just pretend you're feeding it to your buddy. Like, what kind of shirt did he like? Because he talked about it constantly. And I just like, yeah, absolutely. If like everybody had like a friend that died from cancer, then we probably would be a lot more open to cancer or bigotry or whatever. Yeah. And obviously nobody should have to do that, but yeah.
No. It being goofs. It's like in Chopped. Whenever anyone's like, chef, tell us a little bit more about why you're doing this. And it's like, well, my father taught me to cook, and that's before he went blind. And ever since then, it's fucking dumb. I was just noticing.
One day I just want one of the Top Chef hosts to be like, I don't care. The scallops are bad. I don't care if this is the way your blind daddy liked them. Your blind daddy had a bad tongue.
Yeah. I was thinking about Bloke here as he's dying. I'm noticing that he has 3 fingers on his hands. Do you think if you're a mutant and your power manifests and it's one of your powers is like having fewer fingers, do you think your fingers merge together or do you think they fall off?
So the idea here is like you're a normal looking dude up until like you hit puberty and then you convert. And like, so the question is like, do you have detritus after you convert, or does it all just merge together? I would hope for the merge together. Like I wouldn't want to clean up my fingers, and so like
it'd be real weird if you'd like lost your baby fingers,
right? Like you lost them like your baby teeth, like.
Yeah,
mommy, put these under my pillow. I want the finger
fairy from A24 Films. Like fucking Blumhouse presents the Finger Fairy. I don't know, man. It would be very scary to have your finger fall off.
I would imagine you just like eat like a horse too, right? Like your fingers fall off and then all of a sudden your one finger gets really big. Like that takes a lot of energy. Like you'd be just like going around the house as this like pink dude just eating shit up. Yeah.
Just like huge pasta dinners. Like everything it'd be like the guy in Seven, like just pasta and red sauce.
Your mean ass stepdad is like, I was saving that pasta for spaghetti this weekend, you little dickhead.
Do you ever think about how in Seven, how nice it was of the killer to give him red sauce with his pasta?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was a real courtesy. I never really thought about that.
Like, I mean, it could have just been like, or it could have just been like, what if he did it with lettuce? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think lettuce would have made him fat enough. I think he needed him to like.
Well, I mean, it would have eventually choked him. Like, obviously, I don't necessarily think that he was. The point was to digest the lettuce or the pasta or the sauce.
Well, the point is his stomach ruptures. Like he has to eat until his stomach explodes.
I think he could do that with. That's what I'm saying. If it was with lettuce, it would be even worse because it would be way more lettuce required to do that. Man.
Yeah, or like saltines.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like what we're saying is basically the John Doe killer. You got to hand it to him.
What was the worst death in Seven? I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. So there was
the dildo.
The dildo was
like the knife dildo. The guy who had to cut off his side.
Yeah, that was bad.
I think about that a lot. That's really scary. Man,
the Saw movies should be better than they are. Like you would think that's such a good concept. Like ironic, weird killings, and like it just never works out. Like they just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. They're garbage. So Eddie is giving Orphan shit about this.
Yes.
And, hey, like keep this up. There's not going to be a team. And the Orphan is crying.
Yeah.
He's taking this really hard. And Ugor Girl's making fun of him. And Anarchist is like, man, stop it. And there's this great little panel where she's like, I can't remember the last time I cried.
Meanwhile, Fat realizes that he lost what he didn't realize was a friend and immediately tries to choke Diego to death. Diego is being their contact and like obviously losing control of his powers while he's doing it because his whole head is getting all blobby and his hand is like he's reaching out with a hand, but it's not like a true like it's a Cronenberg hand, right? So it's
becoming this eldritch. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. Mm-hmm. Orphan tries to stop him from this. He's like, we've got our mission. Everyone is kind of trying to debate whether they should kill this guy. St. Anna says that, we should kill him as well. And Anarchist is like, maybe we should. Like, we're not supposed to do what people expect of us. Maybe we should kill him and then go home and sell our stories.
Yeah. I love, as everybody's talking about whether or not they should kill him, Dupe is in the corner giving the thumb down. Like, just looking all mad.
Like a Roman emperor. I love the Diego's response. He's like, why should you kill me? She's like, you tried to sell us out. It's like, yeah, I didn't know you then. I'm just like you. He's like, I don't see any play text. And he goes, no, I'm like you Americans. I'm a capitalist selling my service to the highest bidder. Like, I just want to go to America. and be a capitalist. And this is, showing the kind of shit you do for capitalism.
Yep.
And the orphan comes with a compromise, basically like, tell us about the boy, then we'll decide whether to kill you.
Yes. We need to find this kid first, because that's what he's focused on. And Edie is like, even second guessing that, like, that sounds like they're compromised. Like, we're a superhero team, not the House of Representatives. Like, what are you even doing? And like, but they realize they have to leave, but they can't take bloke with them. So Guy gives the order to vaporize him. And our anarchist resists this, and he's like, "You do it yourself." And Guy rushes over and like grabs him. It's like, "You do it, or I'm going to break your fucking neck," which intimidates anarchists into actually doing it.
Yeah, and you get this internal monologue like, "Please back down, don't fight me," like you don't want to fight.
Yeah.
At this point, it's also showing that Mr. Sensitive, in addition to just having sensitivity powers, is also very fast, incredibly acrobatic, knows all these pressure points and stuff. It's kind of this thing. And then they break into this like surgical compound where they're operating on the boy. He says, "I'm going to go get Paco." Edie, get ready to get us out of here. She pops one of her ampules.
Yeah.
And they get in this fight, and we're getting these super heroics with this banter. Anarchist says like, "Hey, next time you try that, make sure you actually do break my neck. I'm going to fucking kill you." They're kind of going back and forth doing these little Spider-Man quips.
Yes.
Like they do when the cameras are on.
And when, like, in the narration, like the internal dialogue from the orphan here is just like, like, if we only never stopped fighting, this would be a breeze. Like, this is all so simple. Like the barked commands, the humorous asides. Like he's very much looking at this from the outside of his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They find the boy. Fat saves him by plumping up and stopping the ceiling from crashing on him. And Orphan goes to go rescue the boy, but the surgeon says, if you pull the wrong cord out of his head, he'll die here. But the surgeon gets shot before he can tell him which cord to pull out.
Oh man, I've played Never Keep Talking or Nobody Explodes, and it's just like this.
Keep Talking and Paco Perez does not explode, does not die. So he's, the orphan is sitting here in the spot while, the team is fighting off just like endless waves of these soldiers. And he has to decide how to save this boy's life.
Yes.
And that's where the issue ends. Yeah.
What are they going to do?
That's it.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Shit's going to get real.
Yes.
Here in this next issue.
Still enjoying this a whole lot. Like I mentioned kind of midway through the episode. Like this is just the weirdness of the characters also having like this, they're so weird. Like they're kind of have weird powers, but they're all very, very much grounded and like feel like real people. Mm-hmm. And just the kind of absurdity, but also like the stark realism and insidiousness of capitalism and celebrity and all of this stuff built into it just makes it just a really fun read. Like this is perfect 2020 reading right now.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
It's breezy. One of the things you talked about the art, like I love how Mike Allred does action. One of the ways that he does it that I think makes his scenes look really dynamic is a lot of times there are characters floating in space. Mm-hmm. Like he draws midair characters a lot. I think that looks really good. There's something coming up where later we get a peek at the farm leagues. Where they like people who want to join X-Force, like do their training and tryouts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And there are a bunch of weird mutants.
I love it.
In that, and it's real fun. So that's super cool. I'm excited.
I am too.
Yeah.
If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can leave ratings and reviews. You can do all of that cool stuff. We very much appreciate it. All of it's super helpful. One of the biggest things you can do is just tell other people about the show. If you like it, tell your friends. That's just the easiest way for podcasts to get out there in front of other people. So if you've done that, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple of days with X-Force 119.